It's been another huge week of transfer news. I've got some of the biggest stories in front of me, including the likes of Malik Fofana and Gittens to Chelsea, Madueke to Arsenal, Martinelli to Bayern, Zabarnyi for 70 million, and Nkunku and Garnacho in a swap deal, and Mbeumo's latest bid, Victor Osimhen to Liverpool. Let's crack on. Let's kick off with Chelsea's pursuit of Malik Fofana. Now, they're not alone in this pursuit. Reportedly, Liverpool are also very interested in him. Lyon are running up the price for suitors. It feels like they are going to avoid that relegation because of the financial penalties. They've sold the likes of Ray and Cherky, and they want 70 million euros for Malik Fofana. Now, there's no doubt that he was sensational. He's putting up 7 progressive carries per 90. That's in the top 1% of wingers in 1v1 situations, a bit like Gittens, who we'll come on to discuss later. He's got very quick feet, and what I really like about him is his ability to play little tidy 1-2s in between the lines, get shots off. He's a very, very impressive player for a 20-year-old. But I think Chelsea will probably err on the side of Gittens, and I'm not sure Liverpool will pay 70 million euros for Malik Fofana. If he does go, whoever gets him is getting a potential star. But I think the fee at 70 million anyway is quite chunky. There isn't an awful lot of data. There isn't an awful lot behind him other than this season. However, if Liverpool's summer so far has been anything to go by, Kerkez, Wirtz, Frimpong, then it does appear that they are targeting really exciting young players that have huge upside, and some of them have been got for really good fees. You know, Frimpong's fee, yes, it was a release clause, good value. Kerkez's fee felt really, really cheap at the time. Wirtz, obviously not. He's a record signing in the Premier League. But I'm going to say Malik Fofana, whoever gets him, it would be a good move. But at 70 million, it's pretty eye-watering. Bargie is on the verge of joining Barcelona officially. Of course, he has just 6 months left in his contract, which is why the fee is so low. A reported £2 million. That is incredible value for a player that maybe 18 months ago we were talking about being, a potential future star. He's had huge injury issues. The ACL problem has really set him back. But when he broke through at Copenhagen, there's no doubt people were describing Bargie as joining a club like Barcelona in the future. They were saying he has the upside, he has the potential to become a world beater. So for 2 million, it's absolutely a good move because it's a risk worth taking. His talent level, his ability on the ball, his ball striking is so phenomenal that even if it doesn't work, I still see Barcelona turning some sort of profit on it. How about Noni Madueke to Arsenal? This popped up in the Telegraph. Apparently Chelsea are potentially willing to let Madueke go this summer. I actually think Madueke is a really interesting player. He's almost unfairly got this negative reputation when some of his numbers and the eye test are really impressive. I love watching Madueke when he's hugging the touchline, when he's able to go past people, but he also has a huge volume of touches inside the penalty area. Top 5% of European wingers for touches inside the penalty area. He's top 10% for non-penalty XG, top 10% for shots. Obviously insane in 1v1 situations. He's playing on the right, he can play on the left. There's a lot to like about Madueke, given he's still only 23. Now, I think his output could still improve. It was 10 goal involvements in the Premier League last campaign. That should have been more, given he started the season quite well. I'm not sure about the fit at Arsenal, though. I do really like Madueke, but is he a big upgrade on Gabriel Martinelli? And this would surely mean the end of Gabriel Martinelli. We're going to talk about him potentially going to Bayern Munich soon. They're a very similar age, quite a similar profile. Martinelli also takes a huge volume of touches inside the attacking penalty area and wants to play very direct in 1v1 situations. I don't see Chelsea selling for anything less than 50 odd million pounds, given he's under contract until 2030. For me, I think I would probably put this one in okay. There's a lot of upside. He could potentially be a superstar, but it's going to be a big fee. And I think if you asked most Arsenal fans if they saw Madueke as a huge upgrade on Martinelli, they would probably say no. Now, there is an argument to be made that if he's being signed as a squad player, as support for Bukayo Saka, it would be a really good move, given he can play both sides. But I think given that Arsenal have a situation in the number 9 role unfurling, and the fact that they are interested in players like Rodrigo, who are going to come in and be guaranteed stars in the left wing slot with a huge jump in ceiling immediately, I think there are a few question marks about this move. We spoke about him briefly then, Gabriel Martinelli potentially leaving the club, and the club that are reportedly interested in him is Bayern Munich, which I think is a really nice fit, if I'm honest with you. The fee would have to be extremely chunky to convince Martinelli to leave Arsenal. I have absolutely no doubt about that. But given Bayern Munich's need for a left winger who is fast, can play in transition, can get in behind, wants to get in the box and score goals, and given some of the data we have behind Martinelli, his touches inside the box, his shot volume, his XG, I think this would be a really good pickup by Bayern Munich. Last season, he only started 25 games, but he put up 12 goal involvements. I don't think it was his best campaign last season. If you roll the clock back to that 22-23 season when he scored 15, that for me was prime Martinelli. So can Bayern Munich get the best out of him by trying to refine exactly what he had in 22-23, which is a lot of space in behind, able to challenge people with his pace. I remember Klopp singing his praises. And what I will say is I think his style really suits a transitional league like the Bundesliga. Now, he's got 2 years left on his contract, and there's no way Arsenal would let him go for cheap. But I do think, honestly, this would almost be a wow for me. Martinelli going to Bayern Munich would be such a shock. Now, it's not necessarily just a wow from the fact of he's going to be amazing, because I think he would be really good for Bayern Munich. But I also think the shock factor would just blow me away in this transfer. The fee has to be upwards of 70 million. And if that is the case, it might give Arsenal the opportunity to spend that money on Rodrigo joining the club. I'm not sure how Arsenal fans would feel about this, though. Arsenal fans, let me know what your thoughts would be about Martinelli leaving the club, because I still think there's a lot of untapped potential there. I wouldn't want him leaving the club if I was an Arsenal fan. Yes, he hasn't had his best campaign. There's been lots of up and down moments, but there is still big potential there. He's only 24 years old. Brighton are reportedly interested in Harvey Elliot. Liverpool want £40 million. They are selling machines right now to get €40 million for Jarell Quansah. Woo! If they were to get £40 million for Harvey Elliot, it's seriously impressive stuff. Having said that, I do really rate Harvey Elliot. He's still only 22 years old. Whenever he's had the opportunity to play at Liverpool, I feel he's made a big contributing impact. Last season, it was just 2 Premier League starts. Nowhere near enough. The season before, 9 Premier League starts under Jurgen Klopp. And I was a little bit surprised at his lack of minutes under Arne Slot. But I'm just not sure about his functionality in that Liverpool system. It doesn't feel like he's got the pace to play out wide. It doesn't feel like he's got the strength necessarily to play in how Arne Slot wants his midfield to set up. And now with the arrival of Florian Wirtz, it doesn't seem like there's a space there on paper. So if they can cash in and a team like Brighton are interested, this is a really good move. I even think, despite the fact Brighton have got the likes of Minter, Gruder, Pedro there, O'Reilly, Rutter, Adingra, and Ciso is still on the books that can play in a similar sort of role, vibe, winger or attacking midfielder, Elliot would be a very smart pickup for them. Because you think of some of those names, the likes of Pedro could well leave, O'Reilly, interested from Napoli, and Ciso, he was out on loan last season, the injury problems they've had out wide, and what Harvey Elliot brings in terms of ceiling level, this feels like it could be a little bit of a market opportunity for Brighton. The fee is chunky, £40 million, I'm absolutely clear on that, but his talent level, I still don't think we've scratched the surface of it. When you watch him for the England youth teams, when you watch him coming off the bench late for Liverpool, he is a crazy talent, man. There's a really, really high chance that he becomes a star at Brighton. Kenny Tete is on his way to Everton. This is going to be a free transfer. He has left Fulham. He didn't sign that contract extension. What a great player Kenny Tete is. Really well-rounded defender. In terms of tackles, blocks, interceptions, clearances, he's in the top 10% of European fullbacks. He's not going to offer loads going forward, but he's very, very solid in a defensive capacity. He proved that when he was at Fulham, and that's exactly what David Moyes is going to want from a fullback. You look at the players he's been interested in, would you rather have Kyle Walker or Kenny Tete coming into this season? Honestly, I would probably rather have Kenny Tete. He's still only 29 years old. He demands significantly lower wages. There's no transfer fee because he's a free. For me, this is a really, really solid bit of business for Everton. Let's talk about Konate and Real Madrid. There was a report in The Guardian this week that he has turned down Liverpool's latest contract offer. His current contract runs out in 2026. That is big news for Liverpool after already losing Trent on a free, having to leave the deals for Van Dijk and Salah to the last minute. Surely they're not going to go into this season with Konate having 1 year left. Because he had an absolutely sensational campaign, partnering Virgil van Dijk. It was 30 Premier League starts. We finally got to the golden 30 for Ibu Konate. He's had so many injury problems throughout his career. His most consistent football in a Liverpool shirt, even in a professional shirt. Really, I think only once before in his career has he put up 2,000 league minutes. This season it was 3,000 league minutes, and it was great to see. But he now holds Liverpool in a really powerful position with 1 year left on his deal. Do they give him an increase to his wage and a longer contract, or does he leave with interest from clubs like Real Madrid? And that's who we're going to speak about, because Real Madrid will just not go away with Mbeumo Konate. The way they're set up under Xabi Alonso with Dean House and Raul Asensio playing as centre-backs, it does feel like they need more cover, because Militao and Alaba's injury records are rubbish. They're just not good enough. Konate's isn't really either. But what Madrid have done really well in the market recently is convince players to run their contract down and sign them on a free. And I still think that's what's going to happen this summer. I think it's unrealistic Konate joins Madrid unless there is a mega bid. I think it's more likely Madrid just keep pushing it. So we want to sign you next summer on a free transfer. Do I see them spending a combined 100+ million on Housen and Konate this summer? No. I think they try and convince him next summer on a free, or if Liverpool can, they get that contract deal done. How about Lunin to Manchester United? Now, we're going to speak about Onana later in this video, but this rumour has really come out of nowhere, and for me, to sign Lunin, who has been consistently a number 2 at Madrid, as their number 1, would be a big risk, given the fee would not be small. He's under contract till 2030. The data and evidence to see what level he can play at is still very, very small. It was 7 starts this season. Yes, he put up 21 last campaign, and he was really, really good as Courtois' sort of stand-in. But beyond that, he has not really played since he's arrived from Ukraine. And there's a lot of talk, isn't there, that he has this high ceiling, he is a potential star. At 26 years old, he's ready for that next step. But there is always a risk when you take a number 2 to become a number 1 at a big club, because the shirt weighs so heavy for number 1s at big clubs like Manchester United, where the spotlight is glaring on you, like it does at Madrid as well. I just think this would be a real risk. I see this as unrealistic. I can't imagine Manchester United going for Lunin right now. Let's talk a little bit about Zabarnyi going to PSG. This fee is starting to get up there, guys. 60 million euro bids being rejected. Bournemouth. I mean, the squad, we said it was going to get picked apart. It was brilliant, wasn't it? Kirkes, Housen, Zabarnyi, 3 of the back 4 of the teams that have finished, they finished 9th, have gone Madrid, Liverpool, and potentially treble-winning PSG. It is just ridiculous. What I love about Zabarnyi is his confidence on the ball, his physicality in behind, excellent in both boxes, very consistent with his fitness, 37 starts, 35 starts across the last 2 seasons. Still surprisingly young. It feels like I've been watching Zabarnyi for ages, but he's only 22. And the biggest upside, of course, is his duel-winning ability. 80% of duels won last season. That is astronomically high. You think of some of the best Premier League centre-backs, the likes of Virgil van Dijk, in a similar sort of range. I also really like the fit at PSG. You know, Marquinhos is 31 now. He's got injury problems. Kimpembe has a year left in his contract. He's got injury problems. Lucas Hernandez is more of a left-sided centre-back. I think to partner Pacho with Zabarnyi, you have to say it's a good move. But if they end up paying Bournemouth's ask, which is £70 million, 80 million euros, that's so much money. Darwin Nunez has apparently given the green light to Napoli. This is a really interesting fit. Antonio Conte obviously wants forward reinforcements, yet again, of course he does. And Darwin Nunez is going to leave Liverpool this coming summer after yet another season of XG underperformance across his 2 campaigns. His XG stands at 40. He's put up 25 goals, which is a disappointing return. 15 goals of underperformance would be the biggest of any Premier League striker. However, we've seen players go to Napoli, go to Italy, and really improve on their potential. Now, Darwin Nunez is very rash. He still feels very raw, but he does feel very Antonio Conte. You have to admit that. In terms of that forward line, it would be real pace and power being added to it. If the fee was right, again, I think it would be a positive move for Napoli, to be honest with you. The issue is that fee. If Liverpool were rejecting €70 million offers from Saudi in January, What are they accepting now? It's got to be around that £60 million mark. The other thing you would say about Napoli is that they didn't score enough goals last season. Yes, they won the Scudetto, but you look at the goal scoring numbers behind Romelu Lukaku, who put up 14, Scott McTominay put up 10, and then it's the likes of, I think Frank Zambo-Anguissa put up 6. So to add a player like Darwin Nunez into the fold would add goals. Let's talk about the big news from Matt Law in the Telegraph last night, and that is Christopher Nkunku potentially being involved in a swap deal for Alejandro Garnacho. It's not the first time we've been heard this. Obviously, in the January window, this was being mooted. I still think this is extremely unrealistic. Manchester United are going to want cash for Alejandro Garnacho, obviously for PSR reasons, and the player that United clearly want is Bryan Mbeumo, who we're going to come on to discuss a little bit later. If they've got Cunha and Mbeumo in those 2-10 roles, Ahmad can play there, Xerxes can play there, Mount can play there. Where's the room for Nkunku? Because he's not a number 9. I can imagine this transfer has been bubbling away a little bit in the background. If the Mbeumo deal doesn't happen, could they shift their attention to Nkunku? Because, of course, Christopher Vivel, who is Manchester United's Director of Recruitment, has a heavy working interest in Nkunku, having worked with him previously at the Red Bull Group. But the fee would have to be right. His fitness issues are very, very clear, aren't they? The lack of minutes in recent seasons has been very, very clear. And on the other hand, you'd have Garnacho going to Chelsea. So what would that fee be? Man United are on a big amount of money for Garnacho going to a Premier League rival like Chelsea. I think this is just so hard to imagine. What do you guys at home think? Who would be the winner from the Nkunku Garnacho deal? I'm genuinely interested to hear who you guys think would be the winner there. Because for me, it's both teams not quite getting the player they really need. It almost reminds me a little bit of when United did that deal for Mkhitaryan and Sanchez going both ways. United should have been the big winners from that deal, but it ended up that nobody really was. Let's talk Victor Osimhen and Liverpool. Oh my word, this would be a ridiculously exciting deal if it was to get done. Do I see it getting done? Absolutely not. I think it's totally unrealistic. Osimhen is rejecting 400, 500,000 a week from the Saudis. Fair enough. Doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. Galatasaray are offering a reported 400,000. What you would say, and like I've said when I was speaking about him and Manchester United, is the longer this summer goes on and Osimhen doesn't move and options become more limited, the more likely he is to lower that wage. So if any deal happens for Osimhen, I predict it happens very late in the window. And he would be a wrecking ball for Liverpool. I still think Liverpool actually need a number 9, especially if Luis Diaz potentially leaves, Darwin Nunez leaves, Diogo Jota could well leave. There's definitely a space for a number 9 in this Liverpool side. Victor Osimhen, in terms of XG, in terms of shots, in terms of his off-the-ball work rate and his physicality, suits that number 9 role at Liverpool. And the thought of having Osimhen, Salah, the likes of Wirtz, I mean, it's so scary. And if you're Liverpool, it would be a huge buzz. It just doesn't feel very Liverpool. Kerkez, Wirtz, Frimpong, all very young and ready to take the next step to become superstars. And that's really what I associate Liverpool's business with. I associate Liverpool with sort of signing players that are just on the verge, on the cusp of becoming a superstar, and then making them into this absolute world beater. Whereas Osimhen wouldn't be that. He would be ready to play now star. Do Liverpool do that business that often? They did it with players like Van Dijk and Alisson. Maybe they're going to do it again with Osimhen, but I still think it's unrealistic. Theo Hernandez is going to go to Al Hilal. Whatever. Yeah, it's a good move for Al Hilal, isn't it? Is it a good move for Theo Hernandez, who's still only 27 years old? I think the drop-off has to be studied here. It really needs to be studied. We're talking about a player who, over the last 3 or 4 years, has been one of the best, if not the best, left-back in world football, both on a domestic, European and international stage. His ball-carrying ability, chance creation, physicality are all right up there. He's in the prime of his career, and he's going Al Hilal for 25 mil. I mean, it's just such a shrug-of-the-shoulders move, isn't it? Why is nobody else interested in Theo Hernandez? Is it the attitude issues? There have been reports this season of fallings out with the board, with the management behind the scenes, because as a player, we all love to watch Theo Hernandez, right? And I know his contract was up next summer and Atletico were close to doing a deal for him, but the thought of him now playing for Al Hilal at 27 years old and signing a long-term contract there is just so sort of Really? A couple of Manchester United ones to talk about next. We've got Moise Kean's name being linked. Had a really, really good season at Fiorentina. The XG leader in the Serie A. Nobody put up more XG than him this season. The second most goals in Serie A. Obviously, he was outscored by Retegui, who overperformed his XG by a huge number. But Kean really improved his game this season with his hold-up play, his physicality in the box, the ability to get shots off from good positions was a real improvement in his game. He does have a £44 million clause that is active from July the 1st to July the 15th. But for me, this would probably be a no. At 25 years old now, I'm not sure Manchester United fans would look at this as the guy to fix it in the number 9 role. I think a lot of United fans would look at his time at Everton and the Premier League, which was pretty unfair to judge him on because, it wasn't an easy scenario there and he was being moved around, he was on loan. I think if we're honest, we want to see another season of Moise Kean in Serie A, doing bits again, scoring loads of goals to prove out that it wasn't just a one-hit wonder. Now, I might be totally wrong on this. United fans, let me know what you think about Moise Kean, because he would be an upgrade, he would start, but would he be the guy for that number 9 spot, given last season was the first campaign he started 30 league games ever? The second bid has gone in for Brian Mbeumo at over £60 million. We're talking big money now. 62 million on Matheus Cunha, over 60 million on Brian Mbeumo. United want this deal done so he can join up with the pre-season training camp before July the 7th. Yeah, it would be a good move. Love Brian Mbeumo. We all love Brian Mbeumo. It doesn't feel like there's any downside to his game. He's extremely hard-working. 20 goals last season. Quite an overperformance in terms of XG, in terms of him and Matheus Cunha. They were the two biggest XG overperformers in the league last season. So it will be interesting to see if they revert to type next campaign or if they jump Manchester United's underperformance in XG as a unit just by joining the side. So I really like the move for Brian Mbeumo. Playing in that right side 10. I prefer Ahmad as a wing back. I think he's better with space to run into. And Mbeumo and Cunha as Manchester United's first 2 signings of the summer. It's quite a statement. To be honest with you, it is quite a statement. Whether or not it works, I'm reserving on all judgment Manchester United signings going forward because pretty much every single one that's joined the club has struggled. But ostensibly, I do like it. There's a battle going on right now between Bayern Munich and Chelsea for Jamie Gittens. Let's start with Bayern Munich. Is there any chance of Max Eberl not getting rejected? Honestly, this guy's record in terms of rejections reads like an undateables profile. It's crazy. He can't afford to miss out on Jamie Gittens, surely, given the likes of Nico Williams recently have chosen to go to Barcelona. But I think he will. I think Jamie Gittens will choose Chelsea over Bayern Munich, despite the fact Bayern's status, the trophies, the history. I think Jamie will want to come home to England. I think Chelsea is a really good option for him. I've spoken about in recent weeks the fact that I do think it would be a good move for Gittens, for Chelsea. He's a really impressive prospect, but the fee has to be right here. He's a dribble monster. Nobody in Europe in 2025 has put up more dribbles than Jamie Gittens. He fits the profile at Chelsea very similarly to Malik Fofana, in terms of a young, exciting left winger who wants to beat people in 1v1s and get inside the box. Because Gittens' goal-scoring numbers are also really, really impressive. And those are the reasons, no doubt, Bayern Munich want him too. The touches in the box, the XG, the 1v1 situations. But if Max Eberl misses out on another winger here, I think there had to be serious questions asked about his role at Bayern Munich and the job he's doing there. Because at the moment, it's rejection city at Bayern. Talking of Bayern, Palhinha could well leave the club. I mean, this just hasn't worked at all, has it? 6 starts last season under Kompany. Clearly, Kompany doesn't like this kind of defensive midfielder, and Premier League teams are very interested in him. He was fantastic in his final season at Fulham, and I think that could be a realistic destination to take him back. Not for the fee they sold him for, that's pretty obvious given his age, but we've seen players return to Fulham, the likes of Willian in recent years. I don't think Marco Silva has any problem with saying, okay, I'll have you back. You were excellent for me. He was a Premier League tackle leader from the data perspective. He is a monster at covering wide spaces for Fulham. Honestly, if they can get Palhinha back on a loan with an obligation, which I think are the reports, or maybe even a low fee, 20 million, it is a wow, isn't it? I mean, to sell him for 50, to buy him back for 20, just 10 months later, is that not a wow? I think in terms of business perspective, it clearly is. Jadon Sancho to Juventus has picked up a bit of pace. Napoli are also in the picture here. But his wages are an issue. He's under contract till 2026, but his wages are $300,000 a week. Now, Chelsea chose not to sign him because they couldn't come to an agreement on those wages. I think Man United are pretty reticent to subsidise him. I could see him going to Juventus, and I think he would be a really interesting fit. How we've seen Igor Tudor line up so far with the likes of Konate and with the likes of Yildiz, it doesn't feel like they've got loads of options in that 10 space. And I think Jadon Sancho actually suits playing as an inverted 10 rather than a lights-out touchline winger, where he just doesn't feel like he's got the pace to go past people. I think Serie A being slightly less physical than the Premier League, slightly less powerful and pacey, would also help his game. And clearly Juventus didn't score enough goals last season. Only 2 players in the Juventus squad put up over 9 goal involvements last campaign, and they were Yildiz, who is obviously a potential superstar, and Vlahovic, who might leave the club. Behind them you had Kolo Muani, who put up 9 goal involvements, and he was on loan for 6 months. So I actually think Jadon Sancho Juventus would be a good move, because I think the fee would be tiny. I think United might get 15 million for him, because they took the 5 million off Chelsea. It's probably going to be that sort of fee. Monaco are said to be interested in Onana. I mean, what in the FIFA career mode are Monaco playing at? Pogba has gone back there. We love to see it. Great stuff to see Pogba back, finally playing Ligue 1 football. I don't think he's ever played Ligue 1 football, by the way, which is weird, isn't it? But he's back in France, and now they're interested in Onana. It does feel very career mode. I think it would be okay. The fee, I think, would probably be quite chunky to get him out of Manchester United, given they are looking to sign a new keeper themselves, potentially Emi Martinez, and it just hasn't worked so far at Old Trafford. Too many mistakes. But in terms of United's priority list, Onana being sold, I still think is right down there. United are going to try and fix the front three, and Mbeumo, a striker, a number 8, and then maybe a goalkeeper. There's also wing-back issues. I think you're just adding problems to your roster by trying to replace him this summer. Yes, he has been a problem, but I think it's probably a problem you can move to next summer. Let's finish with Mark Guehi potentially going to Liverpool. A really interesting transfer this, because of course Jarell Quansah has left the club. He's gone to Bayer Leverkusen for an astronomical 40 million euros. Konate hasn't signed a new deal, and Mark Guehi is into the final year of his contract, so it represents a really big market opportunity for Premier League clubs. Not only is his data excellent, dual winning, really good passer, good in both boxes, calm and composed, can play in a 3, can play in a 4, has played as a left-sided centre-back despite the fact he's right-footed, England international, huge leader in the dressing room. There's just so much upside about Mark Guehi as a package. His injury record is excellent. He's still only 24 years old. He would come in and I think start over Ibou Konate because of Konate's contractual situation. Now, if Konate signed a new contract, I think this changes the picture. I only think Mark Guehi is going to go to a club that has a guaranteed starting spot for him. I don't see a world in which he goes in and wants to be a rotation player, maybe a backup. He goes to a club and he is one of the first names on the team sheet. I think this would no doubt be a good move, potentially even a wow. I think Liverpool signing Mark Guehi would be a scary sight, given that Kerkez, Wirtz, Frimpong have also joined the club, and Osimhen is on this list today. Liverpool are a problem, aren't they? They are a real problem next season. I don't see how they don't win the league with this summer business. It's been unbelievable so far. But what do you guys at home think of Liverpool's summer business and the rest of the transfers I've spoken about today? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe. I'll speak to you later. Bye-bye.